everybody, to Kenny Kayer again, bringing you part two of It, right? Um, I did part one with the kids, the It from 1990. By the way, it's not the remake. I will go at some time do the remakes, but for now, it's the original TV miniseries that uh, was aired on TV in two parts, the kid part and the adult part. And now I'm doing the adult part. Um, by the way, I'm starting to move a little bit away from the 70s and the 80s. There are gonna be few more slashers, horror movies from that time period, but I'm going to lean more to the 90s now, and then up to 2000 plus, the year 2000 plus. So the adult section of it. First of all, is it good? Okay, you know, let's start who plays in this movie. So you've got you've got Richard Thomas as Bill Denborough. Immediately, I'm gonna give my opinion immediately. Bill Denborough looks weird with that long pony hair. He has that. He has his blonde hair with a really thin ponytail, yay long, on a string, with a mole here that distracted me more than the actor himself. Mole. You know what I mean? But not not that, but he was I didn't like him. Bill Denborough, the kids, was a lot more because Bill Denborough was the sort of leader, the unofficial leader. He's the guy who took everything, and he does this in this movie too, but not in a good way. I didn't like him as a leader. He gets the call from Tim Reed, Mike Hanlon, that he has to come back, and it's immediately his stutter comes back. He is married to Olivia Hussey, which we know from Black Christmas 1974, Psycho 4, and this movie. She sadly passed away. He's a screenwriter, Bill Denborough, a famous screenwriter, a script writer, a screenwriter, scripts, and so on. Tim Reed, of course, as Mike Hanlon. He's the guy who stayed behind. He's a librarian working still in Derry, but he was the guy. And he was the guy who I'm guessing unofficially nobody voted for that shit. You're gonna stay behind. You're the black guy. You should do that. No, but he did like the everything of the history of Derry, so maybe that's why he wanted to stay behind and keep an eye on things. And the weird thing is that every adult that stays in Derry doesn't, because Derry isn't a really rich town. It's a sort of a poor town, and people aren't really happy there. So this also affected Mike. So I believe after 27 years, the creature comes back, and he of course is calling them all, saying it's back. Remember our promise, right? But he does a great job. I like Tim Reed. I like the fact that he's the guy who stayed behind. He was the watchdog. He stayed behind. He kept he followed the murders, and then he knew immediately this, because at some point there the beginning scene from the, I think it's the first movie. Now I'm starting to question myself. Is that a girl? It could be the beginning scene of this part. Is that a girl on a bicycle sees Pennywise through these sheets, hanging through these sheets, and he's smiling and doing like, "Hey," and then his demeanor changes to this, and then he attacks and kills the girl, and you see the bicycle turned over with a little blood on it, and at that crime scene, Tim Reed finds a picture of Georgie, Bill Denborough's brother. Why was it there? Maybe a sign. Maybe it was the right moment to call everybody up again and get back together and kill this thing once and for all. Then Annette O'Toole, liked her a lot as Beverly Marsh. She is a model, a clothing line owner. She makes these fancy suits. She has money, but she's married to this prick who hits her with a belt. Same way her father hit her with a belt, so she's kind of attracted to guys that are, abusive towards her. It's weird. You hear that a lot. Women that are that want to get out of a relationship because of abuse usually go back to a relationship with an abusive partner. It's weird. It's like they're attracted to yeah. Then you've got Herrick Anderson, who plays Richie Tozier. He is irritating as hell. His comedy is shtick, you know, like not like it's comedy like here's a pie in your face. That comedy, that kind of comedy, childlike comedy, and he pretends to be this how you got American. I mean, I'm thinking about a lot. The Tonight Show with who do you got? I don't follow those shows, but the Night Show with those guys, those are comedians. But he's just a hack, a a guy who should be paid for perform on kids' parties, but no, he's a famous person with a giant crowd and. Woo. Dennis Christopher is Eddie Casbrack. He plays this clearly homosexual that's still in the closet, but just doesn't want to come out of there. Still living with his mother, the same mom he lived with in the first movie, and he still has that, that for people with asthma, but he doesn't have asthma. That's the thing. It's camphor water. It's sugar water. It's fake. It's all here in the mind. When he's a really nervous person. When he gets nervous, he has to do that, and he feels good. But it's all here because the thing which he's sucking on is just water with a little sugar in. But he wasn't good. He irritated me. He was constantly, you know, an effeminate man that started crying all the time and hugged the guy and and they never. Everybody knew he was homosexual, but he never admitted it. Why? What's the problem being gay? What's the problem? Eddie Kazenbach. Then you've got Richard Mazer. Now, this one I did not know. So that's Stanley Ure. So we know from part one that he committed suicide. He was Stanley. He was the scared kid from part one. He's the scouts boy. You know. Um, who's Richard Mazer? I remember that name from somewhere. Where did I remember that name from? The guy from the thing. My one off. No, my favorite horror movie shared with Halloween, two Carpenter movies, by the way. He plays in the thing the dog handler, the husky handler. That's Richard Mazer. Fuck. John Ritter, the great John Ritter, rest in peace. You'll be missed. Remember that episode with AIDS the limit? What was it? With Kate. I have to see that I say her name right because I said it wrong and somebody corrected me. Is it Katie Siegel or Katie Saget? Katie Saget, right? And then Kelly. I'll never. I can't pronounce her last name. Kuwako or something from The Big Bang Theory. That's he died on set in the clothing room. So halfway in an episode, he died. So they did an entire episode that everybody was crying, really crying. That wasn't fake. That wasn't acted. People were. That was a really sad. I mean, beautiful yet sad. John Ritter, a heart attack apparently. He plays Ben Hanscom, of course, the fat kid. Now he's less fat. He's on Time magazine. He's a really wealthy architect, building these giant skyscrapers and things like that. And of course Tim Curry as Pennywise, of course. Okay, so who did I like? Tim Reed, Annette O'Toole, John Ritter. These are the three I like. The rest are crap. Um, and the weird thing is, in the remake, it's kind of vice versa. Yeah. Now, before I spoil this movie, the story is it goes on. They all come back together in a Chinese restaurant. They're having a good time. Beverly even faints when they see them, and for some reason, because Olivia Hussey, I always thought was a really beautiful woman, even at the age in '74, but also in 1990, and Beverly comes in, the Chinese, she sees Bill, and immediately she kisses him. They start kiss. Bill has this hot wife at home, and he starts to kiss. Beverly is a beautiful woman too, and Annette O'Toole is a beautiful woman. But what the fuck? And that's because she thought he wrote a poem towards her, but it was actually Ben Hanscom who wrote that poem, and he's in love and still in love with Beverly Marsh because everything comes back. They enter Derry, and everything comes back. The weird thing is that they blocked it all out by leaving Derry, and for some weird reason, by leaving Derry, they had all successful, rich lives. Weird, right? Um, and the moment they enter Derry, you've got Pennywise trying to get them the hell out of there because he doesn't want them, because Pennywise doesn't eat adults, he eats children, although um, this is actually counter proven in the eighth part 2 remake, but he does eat children in the original, and he always yells, "You're way too old." He says, like, for example, when John Ritter enters town with a cab, he sees Pennywise on the side of the road like this. He lets the cab driver stop. He goes out. He sees Pennywise digging graves for all of them, and then he says, uh, "That one is already taken." And then you see a cross, and that's Stanley Uris's grave, right? So, and then a balloon with "Go Back" is in the cap. It's one of the creepiest uh, moments was when Beverly goes to her old house, and it's all still fine. An old woman opens and, "Come in, my dear, come in, my dear, we'll drink a cup of tea." And they're drinking a cup of tea, and while she's drinking a cup of tea, she starts to, something weird is happening. There's all this, she's slopping it down, it's falling over her chin, her teeth are decaying as you see them, they're decaying, and she says, "You should not be here. You should go back to, you should," she says something, "You should get the hell out of here." And eventually the grandma's the I mean the old lady's face changes into this um, fucked up face of her dad, and it's chasing her. That was creepy. That was creepy. And when she looks, she barely makes to the door. She looks back behind, and the house is condemned and shut. It's closed. It's shut closed with nails and things like that. So it's all a mirage. And look, the thing is with Pennywise, Tim Curry, he's not a lot in this movie. No, he can't hurt them for some reason. Only kids. But what he can do is like Henry Bowers. He's in an insane asylum. He pretends to be Belch, a the uh, uh, falling apart body of Belch, and he says, "You go here, take this knife." He gives him the knife that he had in the first one. He goes to the guard, and then something weird happens because that's also contradicting the fact that it can't kill adults, although it is standing in front of this guard. He, as the clown, the guy sees the clown, he's like, "Huh?" And then its face turns into a Rottweiler and attacks him and eats him and kills him. So apparently he can hurt adult people, but for some reason not these people, not our loser club. the loser club of, for the first, the kids for the first was called the losers club. Those these people. So Henry Bowers is basically sent to kill them. They're all in this Chinese restaurant. They're all having a good time, and it's a fun scene with some great 90s, early 90s, late 80s music. They're all having a good time. It's a fun scene. It's a nice scene. But then they get all the fortune cookies, and in the fortune cookies are all these terrible things like creatures with an eyeball or a miscarried bird, and what the fuck. They get the fuck out of Dodge. They say, okay, let's go back to our hotels, pack up, and get the fuck out of here. But the problem is, Tim Reed's character, Mike Hanlon, says, no, 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 no. We need to kill him. We need to kill him. And then everybody's like, no, no, we're too old for this. We can't do this anymore. Just let it be, Mike. Let it be. Go away and let it be. And then eventually, the only guy who's sorta, of course, wants to do it is Bill Denborough, because he's still thinking about Georgie. And John Ritter is also, Ben Hanscom is also a little bit thinking maybe he wants to prove his, his uh, courage to Beverly to get into her pants. I don't know, but these three want to go in those sewers and kill it. Now they go back. In any case, they go back to the hotel, right? And who's in the hotel? Henry Bowers. He attacks Mike, stabs him in the back, says, "Hello, nigga, remember me?" Again, the racist remark. Um, but then others hear him crying. They wrestle a little bit, and eventually, with the wrestling, Henry falls on the ground, but he accidentally stabs himself and he's dead. So that didn't, and Mike isn't dead. He's just hospitalized, but he can't go to the sewers. But what he did had were those stupid two crystal earring kind of rocks. He went back to the sewers to get them. They said, "Are you fucking clinical insane?" He said, "No, we need it. We need those to kill it." Again, two rocks. Okay, it proved to be to work, because it nicked him, and it hurt, and then the lights came out. So he found them. He's giving them, and then they're all contemplating. Would we do it? Would we do it? Then at some point, Olivia Hussey is going to Derry to find her husband, but then she stops at a tank station. The tank attendee, I believe, is Stephen King. He, yeah, usually in Stephen King movies, Stephen King always plays a small cameo. And then he's saying, "You're not going to the Barrens, are they? You're not going to the Barrens, are ya?" "The Barrens? Yeah, the Barrens, where all the kids play." Then you hear Pennywise's voice coming out over the guy's, the attendee's voice, and then you see Pennywise's face, and then you see those white eyes, which are now, I couldn't remember the name of those eyes, but the deadlights. That's the thing, the deadlights. They basically kind of, they don't kill you, but they make you in a catatonic state. Eventually, they go to the sewers, all packed and going in, they come across this little door which leads to a cave where there are all these, because before they do that they see a mist and Pennywise's face coming out of it saying, turn back now or it's too late. Now, my last warning. So he really didn't want it to be. Okay, so they, they go in, and then the movie gets fucked in the ass. So what's the problem? Listen, a spider appears, which is Pennywise, and this spider looks like something you would see on a very old 70s spook house in on in a carnival. That's like, you know, you're going to this spook house and you have like three things: a skeleton, a guy who's touching you maybe, and then this spider. I mean, it's so cheap, so cheap. It was a mechanical spider. You could see it was mechanical. It was the movement was like, and then in the first movie, and I didn't mention that, is that Eddie Casbrack, he with his camphor water thing, he shoots the camphor water towards the spider and says, "This is battery acid." Because in the first movie, apparently the thing, the camphor water acted like acid on Pennywise's face, and his face was all melted on one side. In this movie, it doesn't hurt the thing a bit, and then the creature does like this. The creature takes it with his. He has like these clampers, and does like this. He's like, ah, ah, and then he throws it. He throws him away. Oh, and he's dead. And he's dead. Yeah. Eventually, it turns like this, and his belly is all, you know, lights. It's the white lights. Everybody's like hypnotized. Only Beverly is like doing this. Has the rock. Remember, the first one hit on his head, didn't do anything, but then she hits it in the belly, and it's like if you throw a stone through a a chandelier store. That effect. Oh my god. They really, I don't know what happened there. I think they really, but budget. I think, you know, John Ritter at that time was a fairly. I'm not. I'm not sure if was it a not. He became an A-lister in the 90s. You know, Problem Child, and but he was especially at least a B-lister, and Olivia Hussey, she already did a few movies. I mean, did they spend all their budget and just came with this crappy spider thing? And that fucked it up. It would have been better that it was Pennywise with his demon face coming towards them, trying to kill them, and that's it. That would have been better. That would have been a better ending. Really. We didn't need to see his real form, a mechanical spider, and we do see that one in part 2 in the remake, that he's also a spider, CGI, but it looks better, of course, but he still has in the, I believe in the remake, still has the, that's why I'm saying that the part 2 remake is actually better than this one, because he still also, the spider thing still has Pennywise's face. You know, this movie. First of all, what the problem is with this movie is the acting from some of these actors, and I'm talking about Richie Tozier, Eddie Casbrack. I'm talking about Bill Denborough. These actors were extremely bad. Bad. I didn't like their acting. I didn't like. They were choppy. They were. I don't know. They acted fake. That's the. It's like they were like reading a cue card or something. It's there was something fake about it. Then Tim Curry, where the fuck is Tim Curry? You see him a few times to scare them away, but he's not creepy anymore. In the first one, it was hella creepy. In this one, he's not creepy. He's just there to tease them, to you know, shoot, 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 do that, and that's it. Fucked up character, and then that's actually an amazing character, but they fucked him a little bit over in this one, and then of course the spider thing makes it come. Now, I liked the ending that everybody at the end, uh, like for example Beverly and Ben, they kiss each other at some point in the movie, because first she kisses him, and then he sees Pennywise face and says, "Kiss me, fat boy." I don't like. And then she comes back, and then he's like, "Oh, oh, no, no," and she's trying her best to hug him, and kiss him. Eventually, "You're real, right? You're real, yes." And then they kiss each other, and then finally they kiss each other. And when they when everything is said and done, they get married, they go on the road, they have a new baby coming up on the way. So that's all good. Richie Tozier gets a big role in a movie, Indiana Jones spoof-like movie, and his co-actor looks a lot and acts a lot like Eddie Casbrack, because Richie and Eddie were kind of best friends. But if you see what they're doing, they're hitting with they're hitting themselves with a with a bat that breaks, then a banana peel, and it's just so okay. If that's his big break, is that's his acting skill. But okay, he breaks through Hollywood. That's basically what they want to say. Um, Bill stays in Derry with his wife because he finds his wife in that cave, that spider cave of Pennywise, and he eventually gets her out of the Catatonia by sitting on his old bike, going all the way there. And I saw that street. That's a street that really like San Francisco style. It really goes like this, Main Street, and she immediately wakes up and she's, "Oh, where am I? Where am I?" And they finally wake up. He probably goes back, becomes a famous screenwriter. She's a famous actress because she was an actress, and they end up happily and ever after. Maybe also a kid, who knows. Mike decides to go to Florida, probably buy Mar-a-Lago from Trump, and and uh, and be happy and live his life fishing from a pier. That's what I'm thinking of it, Mike. That's my premonition of Mike. He's gonna be happy sitting in the sun with a cocktail, fishing from the pier, and buying Mar-a-Lago. um, but this one gets a 6. The first one gets a 7. This one gets a 6. Still a good number, but 1 point less. It's not a bad movie, but if you would compare part 1 and 2 immediately together, you'll see the cracks, and there's the kids were less tamed. Their acting was more raw. Here, the acting was more stale and more acted, if that makes any sense. You know? Anywho, look it up. It's still a classic, and it's not that, like I said, it gets a 6. That's not bad. And you see John Ritter again, and I think you're gonna enjoy yourself. But you're probably gonna see some differences in part 1 and 2. So that's my part 1 and 2 1990s it review. I hope you subscribe. It's free. Like, comment, or do whatever the hell you want. And I see you next time. Bye.